Very excited to be here. It's my third, maybe, visit to Pocket Gamer in Helsinki. I've been to most of the Pocket Gamer events in London as well. So I lead the games partnership team out of London for EMEA. And I've been working at Facebook for 5 years now, so we've seen a lot of change in that time. And this, I think, particularly when we look at instant games and hyper-casual, this is one of the areas where there's the most innovation happening. So we're really excited to be part of the process, and I think it's still early in the journey, but there's a lot of things that have happened so far. I think you're going to hear a lot of exciting things from other speakers as well. I'm thrilled to see some of our close partners in the room as joining us for this, who've joined us for the adventure so far. So when you think about Facebook gaming, as I mentioned, we've been in the games business for a while. We're in a lot of other businesses, but we do have a lot of activities in games. We have over 800 million people who play games on or connected to Facebook every month. So from mobile through to PC console, obviously through to instant games increasingly. As you saw in the video at the beginning, we're also investing a lot in things beyond traditional kind of gaming platform activities. We're investing a lot in creators and influencers and streaming, and really building out active communities for all types of gaming across Facebook. So today I'll be talking about instant games, but when you think about the different types of games you're building, there are also lots of different ways to interact with the gaming community through Facebook and through the tools we provide. So I kind of have to throw the number out there, but Facebook is a very big community, a very global community. We have over 2 billion people every month using Facebook, about 1.3 billion people using Messenger. So we really have big global communities. When you're thinking about where you build your games, how you build your games, how you build communities around your games, there's a lot of people using different Facebook products. So when we think about instant games, where we're coming from, and we've thought about this a lot, and we've been really how do we play a role, or how do we bring something new to the world of mobile gaming? Because obviously it's an enormous business and a successful business. What we're really looking at is, when we think of the mission for instant games, it's discover and play games. So what we're trying to help you as developers create and help people find is really find great games. So discover games they can play. Oh, sorry, there was supposed to be more to that slide. The other point of this slide is really just this social connection. Really play with your friends. And when you think of instant games in particular, for those who've been involved or building games for the platform, all the games are HTML5, so they run across web, both mobile platforms. So really, you can build a game once, and you can interact with those games across any platform, anywhere. We have over 4,000 games live now. More and more games coming to the platform. If I'm being brutally honest, we maybe had too many games coming to the platform. We're trying to make sure we have a bit more of a managed process as new games become available. And of course, it's available globally. And I think that's one of the things we're most optimistic about, and we've seen the most interesting trends around, is just because the game audience reflects Facebook. You have enormous gaming markets everywhere from Southeast Asia to LATAM to Western Europe to, of course, North America. So you can really start to see different games work in different markets, and the opportunity to really find players pretty much anywhere except China. Going back to how this sort of thing started, it's like a lot of things at Facebook. It was an iterative or organic process. Way back in March 2016, an engineer on Messenger decided they were looking at different things they could do to build engagement, and they built this little basketball, almost Easter egg you would find with an emoji. That went so well that we actually really started investing in the platform. We first rolled out a very early beta almost 2 years ago in October 2016 with, I think, 29 games, all very simple, high-score games. We saw great results, but we really wanted to make it a more powerful, more flexible platform. So in May in 2017, we basically adapted the platform so it was more flexible, gave you, the developer, more tools and more flexibility. We introduced bots. We brought monetization to the table end of last year, which of course is an important thing, very important thing. And then in March of this year, we opened the platform. So anyone building a game could publish the platform subject to app review. And now, we're coming up on 2 years, and I'll talk a little bit more about, some of the things we're doing to try to help grow the platform. It's still early. We're still, frankly, learning a lot. We're learning a lot from you the different developers in the room and in the community globally, because this is, it's a new space. There's new interactions, and so, we love the feedback we get, and we're continuing to iterate quickly, as you'll see. So already we've seen a broad range. There's 4,000 games. You'll see every type of game. Some games you wouldn't expect. Some games, big, small. We still have some very simple, very successful games. We have some big IP. Disney Tsum Tsum is now on the platform. And you see, again, single-player progression game with social works well. You see Trivia Crack. You see Angry Birds from Finland's own Rovio. And this is a really great story because it's a completely reimagined version of the game with a turn-based mechanic, which really suits the Messenger environment. So again, we're seeing really an ever-increasing range of games and an ever-increasing breadth of games that are optimized and built for the platform. So when you think about instant games and you think about messaging games in general, there's some really unique aspects that are important to take into account. And this is really what starts to differentiate the games from some of the other experiences you might find is you really have this deep social interaction. You are playing in a Messenger thread with your friend, a group of friends, your family, and the interactions that can happen there and the real strong social connections are what really set these games apart and what sets the platform apart. You can ask your friend for help. You can play turn-based, and this is, again, one of the earliest use cases we saw work. Word with Friends came to the platform very early. We've seen a broad range of other games in this mechanic work, and it kind of makes sense. You're already talking to people. The game becomes a part of your conversation. And then kind of more traditional things like sharing achievements, invites, challenges, all that sort of stuff works in the same social context. I mentioned Messenger bots. Again, this is really, if you think of push notifications, this is your way as a developer to re-engage with players. The nice thing with bots is there's much more flexibility, much more richness in bots. You can really do a bunch of different things. You can do simple updates. You can say, hey, new levels, your friends challenged you. You can also build narratives and stories. The Basketball Forever has built a whole story around what is a very simple basketball high-score game. You really can do a broad range of things with bots, and so we're just starting to see people really push the envelope, but that's one of the things that we think is unique and exciting about the platform so far. So I want to touch on the three big aspects we think about, starting with growth, really in all the tools we're building to help you, the developer community, be successful. Also talk about monetization, and then I'll touch on tools and different ways that you can re-engage and connect with your player base. So when we think about growth, we're really investing in discovery. This is one of the things that, frankly, in some ways is a challenge because we are living within Messenger. We have certain constraints due to that, but we also think there's some big opportunities. So we're looking at different ways we can optimize organic discovery. We're also working on viral discovery, which is a lot of what I just touched on in terms of making those connections and connecting your friends and playing with friends. And then, of course, paid discovery. So really finding those high-value users. So this is one of the areas we've invested in a lot, and as we go forward, we're continuing to invest even more in. So in terms of organic discovery, you look at the different channels. Messenger has been the primary interface. If you think of the games list within Messenger, that's where most people have found your games. Most people have re-engaged with your games. This is obviously continuing to evolve. We're investing a lot in making this a better experience because it is space constrained. Threads, so this is essentially if you're in a conversation, that's what we call a thread. Great way for you to send invites, find new people to play with, people you're already in a conversation with. You can help them find a game. Facebook is one of the areas in this half in particular we're spending a lot of time to think about how do we take advantage of those 2 billion people? How do we make it easier for people to find the games? Technically, you've been able to play them forever, but making it actually easier to discover and easier to find a game again is a big priority for us. And search, for those who've been watching, we've made a lot of progress in search actually within Messenger, even the last month or two. We've done a bunch of work on localizing and a bunch of different aspects, so that's getting a lot better too as another way to find games. Sorry, the font's gone a little crazy. So when we think about discovery and what we're really starting to apply in the Messenger list as well, because you can see it's a relatively short list. We're doing a lot of work with machine learning, so really starting to bring algorithms to play. So high quality games get found more easily. We're taking into account the performance of the games themselves, the personalized results. So based on your profile, your friends, who you interact with. So again, this is one of the other big priorities. So we're starting to make some real progress on making sure that the right game gets surfaced to the right person. And then viral discovery, I touched on this already, but there's a bunch of different ways that games can be viral. We'd initially, in the first year or so, focus really on that thread, that messenger conversation, which is the obvious and first place that these games, you would find games and interact around these games. What we're doing now is really trying to think about all the different surfaces where people can interact with another on Facebook. So Facebook itself, again, has been a channel that we've really been working on optimizing, surfacing bookmarks, really trying to make the games more prominent. Again, we're looking at different parts of Messenger to increase the discovery surfaces. Stories, as everybody has probably heard, stories are a huge area of growth in terms of content consumption and interaction. So we're looking at how we can make instant games a part of the stories experience. And we're looking at different formats just around sharing and more, I'd say, traditional ways to get your games out and help people connect with one another. In terms of paid discovery, we've been working on effectively taking what is our mobile app ad, the app install ad that many of you, if you have games in the traditional app stores, have probably used and found users with. We've basically adapted this for instant games. So it appears in the Facebook news feed. The great part is no download required. You can just click, person can play the game, and then they continue to have that experience. They can go to Messenger to interact with their friends. So this is an open beta, so there's a list. We can whitelist people. We hope this will be going fully open, global launch anytime soon. So monetization, again, very, very important part of the equation for those who've been with us for a while. I see a couple faces in the room, some smiling, some not. We had a year where there was no monetization on the platform, and we've invested a lot in the last little while to really try to make it a more robust part of the platform and really start to bring all the different types of tools to bear. So ad monetization, we've plugged in the audience network. There are interstitial ads for simpler games and rewarded video for deeper games. Again, we're continuing to optimize those formats. We're continuing to learn and figure out, how do we get the best CPMs? How do we make sure that those ads really perform? Because again, the instant games experience is frankly different from audience network, but you do have all the benefits of all the targeting and scale that comes from being part of the Facebook side in terms of access to all of that inventory. And then, of course, in-app purchase. So this is where we've also been investing a lot. In-app purchase is available for anyone. It's on Android and on the web today. We're starting to see more games use in-app purchases more effectively. Again, the games themselves have evolved. The platform has evolved. We're starting to see some people actually really start to make use of this and really start to see their businesses scale as a result. So lastly, I just want to touch on a few of the tools that some of these are new, some are in development, some have been around for a while. So home screen shortcuts, again, this is one of the differences from the App Store. Obviously, you can find the game anywhere. The challenge is, how do you find it again? So we rolled this out earlier on Android and iOS, it's home screen shortcuts. So effectively, we prompted the second time anyone plays your game, we encourage people to actually create a shortcut on their home screen for their phone. You also, as a developer, have an API that you can use. And again, we've seen really good results with this. Hopefully we'll get there. Eventually, there we go. We've seen someone Let's Farm is seeing 10% of their DAUs coming through home screen shortcuts. Again, it's really one of the ways that we've worked to offset the challenges of being within the Messenger context. And we're starting to see, again, really positive results. Cross-promotion, again, as more developers build more apps, we wanted to give people the ability to actually circulate traffic from game to game. So this is, again, an API you control as a developer. You can cross-promote from one game to the other. You can integrate it however you want. This is 4pix, One Word, Lodem have created a surface at the bottom of their games where you can access all the different games. And again, 15% of the new players are coming through cross-promotion. So a great way in a world where you can get a lot of viral traffic, you can ensure you're pushing people to the game that's either highest engagement, highest retention, or ultimately highest monetization. So again, building community. This is kind of a core part of what we're doing at Facebook across the board. We're really trying to make sure that regardless of the surface, people are able to, and the type of content, people can find communities and build communities. Instant games is no different. If you look at people like Everwing and others, they've been able to build really, really strong communities, both on pages and in groups. Groups is an area we've invested a lot in over the past year or two as a company, and we're actually looking at how we can also bring gameplay into groups as well. So again, if you're already in a group of friends or a group of whatever interaction, HTML5 is so flexible, you can start to look at ways you can actually play the games themselves in a group as well as in the news feed and on Messenger. Matchmaking, again, as we get more competitive games on the platform, we wanted to facilitate a way for people to challenge other people who weren't necessarily their friends, but who are of competitive or of similar levels in a game. So this is another API we've introduced, so you can basically find people who you want to play against who are a similar level. We help you find those relevant people based on their progression in the game, and then that'll create an actual Messenger thread. So even if these people aren't your friends, we all know it's great playing with your friends. Sometimes your friends aren't very good, or sometimes they're way better. Finding people of similar skill levels is important and fun. And lastly, again, this is as the platform evolves, we continue to learn and, as always, continue to be amazed when we see what developers like yourselves are coming up with, the types of games, the formats of games, the genres, and really looking at how do we effectively provide you with all the tools possible to make those great games without having to rebuild everything. So we're building out more and more APIs. So we have a bunch for competitive gameplay. We have leaderboards. We're building out more and more tools really to make it easier for you to make those great games. So you don't have to reinvent the wheel each time. Again, we're building out native components, and then there's deeper and deeper integrations we're building out. So as we continue to move forward, there'll be more and more tools, again, so you can focus on making great games, and we focus on optimizing the platform. That's all I have for today. I'll pass over to the rest of the group who are making games. We appreciate your support and your time, and we're just getting started, so thank you very much.
Actually, Bob, we have a couple of minutes before the next speaker. Did you want to take some questions maybe from the...
Happy to take questions.
Does anyone want to share some questions for Bob here? Maybe I can start.
Okay.
So you mentioned right at the start that there's a lot of games on the platform at the moment, and you might be looking to create that a little bit differently. What does that mean for the app approval process? Is it going to be more stringent? Can you perhaps talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, great question. So essentially what we're trying to do is, again, we want it to always be an open platform because that's kind of part of our general philosophy. We do have a pretty thorough app review, so we're working on continuing to evolve that to make sure that, again, quality games and games that don't infringe on any platform policies are the ones that go live. But we're also just trying to ensure that we don't have hundreds of games coming to the platform at one day from one developer. So we're essentially looking at moderating the number of games per developer in a given week. So it's essentially, it's not to close the platform or anything, and it's more just, in a way, just to sort of ensure we don't have thousands of games coming, because there are, HTML5, one of the virtues is the games are very easy to make. One of the challenges is the games are very easy to make. So we're trying to balance that out to make sure we have a consistent flow of high quality games.
Great, thank you. Any other questions for Bob while we have him? No? So one at the back there. There we go. Hi. There we go.
Does it work? Oh, yeah. Do you save players' progress? Like, if you play the game, can you get back to where you were?
Yes. Yeah. You effectively, there's different ways to do it, but you can run your own server on the back end, so you can save state however you want, but we have different ways you can save within the context. So say you and I are playing in a game, we have a way that allows you to save that state, or if you're saving overall progress. So there's different ways to do it, and I can show you that. Yes, exactly, yeah.
Thank you. Did you see another question? Sorry, was there another one from... Oh, it's Craig Chappell from PocketGamer.biz, everyone.
Cheers. So you cut your 30% revenue share on Android. I guess my questions are, why did you do that, and how will you make money from those games?
So it's a great question. As I was saying to one of your colleagues not that long ago at Gamescom, our mission obviously is we want to build a sustainable ecosystem. We want developers to be able to be successful and grow their games. So we looked at effectively. We did an initial rollout with IAP, and we wanted to look at the economics and just ensure that developers could grow. So we made the decision in order to, really help the platform grow more quickly and developers grow their games. We decided to remove the incremental rev share. We're in this for the long term, I guess, is the way I'd put it. And if developers are successful, ultimately we'll be successful. And there's, when we see the potential for the platform to scale, part of it is engagement. We'll find Facebook will benefit from different channels, but ultimately the main priority is for developers in the short term to be successful.